TvGrace presents the inexpressible words of God, the gospel of grace, on the lips of Jesus Christ man. Abba, Father.
Well, now let's go to our topic, a special generation on the face of the earth. You know that Solomon, the wisest man of earth, I'm saying under the sky, the man who had the greatest wisdom under heaven, that he discovered the secrets of the people. Remember when those two mothers brought the son to him? He says, whose son is it? One said, it's mine. And the other mother said, no, it is mine. And there, Solomon's wisdom kicked in. Well, let's do something. Let's split them in half and each one take a half. And the true mother said, no, give it to her. This is truly the mom. Because the real mom seeks the life of the child. Well, Solomon anticipated that a race was to come. There are minds, there are spirits, because mind and spirit is synonymous. But he contemplated this. Joel also said in those days when the Lord comes, in the last stage of the movie, there will be a people such as never has been manifest on the face of the earth. So the Apostle Paul also spoke about the false science, implying that there's a true science. That true science was going to be reflected in a knowledge where that super race, not speaking of our children, speaking of us, we are a super race, was coming, and in their minds, they were going to desire that science. Because grace is not only a doctrine, grace is the science of how to live your life. The law kills. The law profited nothing, perfected nothing. Listen, Moses was loved, but the law profits nothing. The law produces wrath. That's why the religious ones don't agree with us. I'd say, try to deliver me from my falsehood, as you say. No, that you speak things that are twisted. Well, then straighten them out for me. They get wrath. They get angry because when I speak to them as I'm speaking to you, they feel bad because they're being confronted. What they're doing is fighting against us. We don't fight against them. What we're telling them is the truth, simply. But they fight. But he spoke of a race. The only thing, but that race, look at what Solomon said of the mind, of the heart. Let's look at Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinks in his heart, in his mind. Where are the thoughts? In the mind. So when it speaks of the heart, it's speaking of this heart that pumps blood? No, because it's speaking about how one thinks, because the thoughts are not in this heart, it's in this heart. Say, in my mind. And what did Paul say? That we serve God with what? With the mind, right? Not with our hands, nor with our feet. Oh, knelt down. No. If the mind is not in use, you're not serving God, though you're walking on your knees, though you abstain yourself from foods or sacrificing yourself or whacking yourself. It's my fault, or with pebbles on your feet jumping around. No, it is with the mind. So Paul, or Solomon, was anticipating that a man, look at what it says, for as he thinks in his heart, so is what? He. So is what? He. And the reason why it says, eat and drink, and he says to you, but his heart is not with you. Look at verse 9, I believe. What does 9 say? Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your reasoning or words. That is why you see that I speak with certain family members of mine or friends or people that you see they're very honest. Wow, he's so nice, right? Sooner or later, he will be manifest, because it's that if you speak the eternal words, the sound words, you're giving pearls to pigs because their thoughts are piggish. That's why Jesus of Nazareth says, don't launch the pearls to the pigs. Don't you see that they're like pigs thinking and acting? Imagine you tell them they're blessed, they say no. And if you tell them you're blessed, they say, no, I don't sell AIDS. You tell them, oh, you pay me with that, right? They say, well, the devil is destroyed. You say the devil is destroyed. No, I don't want him to be destroyed. I want him to be like a roaring lion. You tell them sin has been removed. They say, no, can't be. Sin is still alive. So everything you tell them, they don't want to accept it. So they're foolish. So their hearts, their minds are in a piggish state. So then the verse says, for as he thinks in his mind, in his heart, so is he. It is to say that, notice that this ministry is important in your life, that the words that we apply here is the true science. And it is a science that when you apply it to your mind, since it's the true, if it's the false science, you'll be doomed. You would have noticed and you would have left here long ago. The reason why you don't leave here, number one, is because you're reading it. And number two, it creates positive effects. So then when you place them in your mind, well, that is what you are. Imagine at the age of 42, I says, no more. I'm 42. I am not going to have any more birthdays. Why? Because I felt like it, because the mind told me, you don't have to. Listen, that mind, when you apply this science, this works. This is the missing link the scientists are looking for. I gave a conference in Honduras, in a university there, and I have my witness here, the doctor, and I have a book that the Department of Science and the University of Honduras adapt to their library, because what we speak, it's a science, and this science works. So you can detain time and say, I am staying here. I am staying here. I am staying here. I feel good here. Done. I'm saying, if you don't like it, you don't like that, this is a good business transaction I'm offering. Imagine the promises were very good for you. You would always be ahead and not the tail. Who wants to be in the tail of a horse or a cow? You don't want to be back there. Imagine. You will always be the head and not the tail. Oh, and Paul didn't know all of this. Paul left in Pampers. Paul is learning the rest now with me. How the ones that hear me are bothered. Now he says he's greater than Paul. But listen, I gave it to him the right. Imagine. But Paul, listen, spreading a few drops or a few crumbs, he said, this light affliction, momentarily tribulation that will pass. He was amazing. He said, I think Timothy told him, what about those 39 lashes they gave you and when they stoned you? That is light? and what they're speaking against you, the persecution, and they've tried to kill you several times. And the apostles went on a fast to kill you. That's light. Not only that that's light, but that is momentarily. And another thing, he will always lead you triumphant. What better than that? Listen, though this may seem like stupidity, it works. I'm saying, and if you think this is stupidity, then you have to call the Bible stupid, and I don't recommend it. Why do you think that crazy people don't die and last so long? There's a problem with the state asylum here that the crazy people don't want to die and the budget is running out. Imagine they get to 90 and they don't die. And there are no medical expenses because they hardly get sick. Why? Because they are crazy. And Paul said that we are saved by the folly of the preaching. Sometimes I don't explain how I've lasted until this time. Listen, because I've traveled in those planes up and down. I get poisoned with food. I get this, that. And I say, well, 24 hours. 24 hours don't pass. You have to leave here or I'll vomit you or I'll throw you up. Let's go to the meeting. And sometimes I arrive on Tuesday and something tells me, wait, that 24 hours have not gone by yet. And suddenly I do this and I remove a nail with another. And I arrive here. Yes, that is an attitude. People say what he has is positivity. That's why he helps people. But it's more than positivity. Listen, there was a man that was very well known that had a church in New York that his name was Norman Vincent Peale. He wrote a book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and that's all he had. He didn't have the gospel. He believed in the devil. He still believed in sin. But with those little drops, he accomplished, imagine, you heard of him. That book, when I used to sell with the Metropolitan Life Insurance, I used to sell insurance. That was the book they would give you to be positive. And they would teach you positive things. For an example, don't speak to someone as, hey, you. No, by name. When you go in to sell insurance, you have to learn the name. You have to call them by Mr. So-and-so. And there were things that were positive that I applied in my life. Listen, I tried because sometimes I forget the names, but I practice to memorize the names. When I speak to someone and they tell me their name, I pocket it. Because when they used to refer to me by my name, Jose Luis, when I was a child, wow, I would feel loved, accepted. Imagine that they tell you, hey, look at that delinquent. And when they tell me daddy, I think about my father that used to call me daddy. My father, he, for many years, called me daddy. But I have brothers and sisters, and he calls none of them daddy. So when they tell me daddy, it reminds me of my father, which is the best I can remember of my dad. But we live of a positivity. Remember what they told that reporter in Houston? What do you think of this man? That they asked him. He's so successful because people are tired of going to churches and they call them sinners and that they tell them they're going to hell. But this man, he's really got something here because he presents you perfect in Christ. And this is very important because the apostle used the word worried, but he never used the word problems in the Bible because that doesn't exist. You know, the Bible doesn't say that the prophet had a problem with the lion. No, it says, and by faith, he killed the lion. We formed that word problem. So the word worry isn't a good word, but Paul used it. I have to rebuke him there in the cloud. After I gave him so much credit, let's take a point from him. We took a point from Paul. He's got many points, 20 years, speaking about him all around the world. But look at what the second letter to the Corinthians 11:28 says. This is very alarming. Besides the other things, what comes upon me daily, my deep worried in a translation or concern. Imagine being worried with them apostles, giving them all that heat. With Peter alone, it was enough to be concerned. My deep concern for what? For the churches. But Paul, the apostle, says, who are you? You got here the other day. You killed Stephen. You arrive here as an aborted child. We saw Jesus. We walked with Jesus. And you just arrived. Why do you have to be concerned about the church? Leave that to John, James, to Peter. Why upon you? Because he possessed the true science, the one that makes you happy. And the only one that possessed that was him. And he knew that they were seeking him out to kill him. And he knew that if he was to depart, the churches would be dismantled. Why do you think I get angry? I check the whole world out. With the mind, it's easy. I don't use the phone. I don't call. I simply, with the mind, I look at the church. And when I see a country that the stones are making noise or the water, I'm concerned because they're nations where we work so much edifying a life, edifying that super race, that mind, that temple, because that is a temple, what you have there. And after we've cleansed that temple and adorned it, and the temple is clean and is shining for a raptor wolf to arrive, which is just looking for what's in his best interest. What he's looking for is how much came in today. How much? So little? Oh, these people, we have to insult them. And the next Sunday they arrive insulting the church for money. When have I asked for money? How much do you give? No, never. You know that one of the things that when I went before the Judge Pinheiro and those that of the deposition that were asking me question, where did this money come in? This amount. Well, I said, I don't know. And how much came in? Well, I don't know. But they told me, you don't know nothing. It's that I don't get involved with that. What I do is preach and teach. That's what my Department of Finance is responsible for. Why am I going to get involved with that? How much did he give? Well, one day I had a doctor that was a member here, and he left. He was bothered because he used to give $1,000 a week. Imagine everyone giving $1,000 a week. Not 1,000, 5,000 each one of you. Listen, but one day I ran into him in the mall or in Best Buy somewhere, I'm not sure. And I said, hey, how are you? It's beautiful to see you. And he was with his daughters, and I called them out by name, and I began to talk to them. And it seemed like that saddened him, me being so courteous with his daughters and in the way I was treating them. You know why I have not gone anymore, right? Now you've come to vomit your symptom? Oh, because you've never called me. And I said, but it's that I don't call no one. That isn't my job to be calling. I have to respect the day you don't show up, you didn't come. Why do I have to, hey, why didn't you show up today? We are people that are wise for a pastor to be following you around. But I knew what he was trying to tell me. You are feeling those $1,000 you haven't received for 3 months? No. Because if I can't visit or call he that lives in a martyr's house in Coconut Grove or in a mansion in Hialeah, I'm watching you. If I can't visit someone that gives $5, $10, $15, $2, why do I have to visit someone that gives $1,000? Is there a respecter of person? Favoritism? That don't work here. Here, you give based on what you have. If you don't have, don't give anything. As a matter, I give you so you can give. Oh, take an empty envelope like this and fill it out in faith, $1,000. You lay it there empty, and I understand they put it in faith. You have to respect that also. Oh, but don't do that because I'll run out of envelopes. And then we'll spend a lot in having them made. Listen, but Paul was concerned for the churches. They were going to disappear. As a matter of fact, they disappeared. Notice that this is the only church of that class that Paul established that finished there in 1973. This one begun. In 1973, the first Christian church was established, and I was the first member. Because the rest out there, that's not Christianity. If that's Christianity, let God come to see. Oh, and these minds that TvGrace has some temples, that once you defined a truth, whoever comes against you and try to take it from you, no one can move you. Not even a trailer moves you. The press thinks that by speaking against me that they're going to empty this out. It's that this doesn't depend on that this individual and that. It's about what you've received. You have these powerful convictions that have established you, cemented you. Why are you doing like this, like a rocker? Look, that young lady, so firm. She is there swallowing everything. That is precious to see our youth that way, firm. We are defined minds. Nothing moves us. Nothing drives us. Notice that is why the apostle used a terminology there in Galatians 4:19. Look at what it says. Oh, my dear children, I feel as if I am going through labor pains until Christ is formed in you. You know what Catholics think about this verse? Put on a rosary, put on a cross, get a stamp with the Guadalupe or Mary, the mother of Jesus. Make the sign of a cross very elegant. Holy Mary, Mother of God, plead for us sinners. That is the way they form Christ in you in the Catholic Mass. And in the evangelical church, they form Christ in you. Don't smoke, don't drink, don't dance, don't listen to worldly music. Be careful with the length of the dress. The clothes don't save, but they cover. Commandments, don't say this, don't do this. And Christ is formed. Christ is formed by what I am speaking to you. With the science of grace, with the true science. That's how you form Christ, when you have a confession in line with what's written about you. Last, wow, today we're okay. But you may miss your bus. No, in some countries, they're in a different time zone and they're by the door ready to head out because the bus will leave. Then they have to catch a ride. Yes. In Spain, it's about 7 a.m. They're there with a cup of coffee. Well, in Costa Rica, it's about a 2-hour difference, right? Honduras, all of Central America. What time do they gather today? At 6, right? Wow. Sometimes I recommend that they record it because notice, I noticed that they want it hot at the moment. It's fine. But also they should have a service during the week. Those that are listening to me, record it for those that can't make it. And then they can repeat it in a different service. For an example, on a Friday where others can make it. Or another day of the week or Saturday. So they can see it in a time that's comfortable for them. We look for ways to make it as flexible as possible so everyone can be edified. Job 3:25. Let's look at this. For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me, and what I dread has happened to me. What are you fearing, blessed? Well, let's confess ourselves. What are your fears? Well, I fear, oh, brother, I am frightened. I am afraid that I truly think that my matrimony, I fear that and since I fear, I create malice. And if I create malice, I begin to give indirects. And since I fear, I begin to make calls. And I ask there, and I do this here. And I begin to create a fortress that then you're not going to only be fearful, you're going to have to run before that fortress falls upon you. Put that verse again. Stop it right there. For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me, and what I dreaded has happened. I was not at peace, nor quiet, nor had I rest, yet turmoil came upon me. Temples that live in fear, minds that serve God with fear and turmoil. Look, I don't want to live that way. As a matter of fact, that's what I fear, to live like that. When fear begins to arrive from wherever, what I do, from health, fear of this, fear of that, whatever, I number them like this. And I say, wait a minute, run. I have to look for something. Let me put some nice music. But don't you see that you are a machine, a race, that you are created with a form of being. You are a spirit, so you have to be reformed and form Christ in you, because your transformation also depends on it. So you have to be preparing yourself, because if you start, sharing sweet water and bitter water, and people come to hear you, and you're one day sweet and another day bitter. So you're now challenged with two thoughts, and the mind, when it receives that bad information, the effects begin to manifest several days later. You don't notice it, but you see that afterwards. It's that you're that way. You are a special generation. And listen, you're not just any race, because you see that there are people that walk like you and live like you, like those actors and actresses. If they had this wisdom, they would save their wealth, but they destroy themselves immediately because they don't have the minds to believe as we do. So you are very special, and you have to educate your thoughts. You have to do that. You have to deal with the mind. Look, when I was a young man, I was addicted to drugs. I used to love it. I used to dream with it. Well, that affected me so much, that habit, that I fear that something dominates me now. So now I dominate things. Some I like to do, and I do them, but I dominate them. The day I feel that they're dominating me, I feel that I went back to that youth as a teenager, because it's dominating me. Now, while you are in self-control, you control, and your mind is there controlling. But fear, do not put it in your temple. It's ugly. The temple gets dirty. Dirty temples. Dirty temples? Oof. Contaminated with bad information. Let's stand, because if we continue, music. Listen, say with me, I will not be contaminated. I am not going to put fear in my mind. I am what I think. I am in great health. I have my whole body healthy. My heart, my blood runs well through my veins. Everything is fine. My tissues, everything grows normally. Abba, Father, I don't need glasses. I'm saying hello. I'm saying a light momentarily tribulation, but they're fighting the battle. When you see that I no longer use them, it's why? No, because I bought a Bible with big letters. No, I cancel that. I receive that also.